reopening its borders to Europe. In Tunisia, police fire tear gas on protesters. Deadly fire ravages schools in southern Niger. NASA SpaceX crew dives down in Gulf of Mexico. Thousands protest against compulsory COVID jabs in New Zealand. Taliban rule sparks of hope for peace in rural Afghanistan. Democratic Republic of Congo's military says rebel attack base. This is the Midday International News Desk. You are welcome. And the news in full. The United States has reopened its borders to vaccinated international travelers, ending a 20-month travel ban at the same moment Europe is battling a surge of COVID-19 cases that has pushed the continent back into the epicenter of the pandemic. Fully vaccinated travelers from 33 countries, including the United Kingdom and much of Europe, can now enter the US without needing to quarantine, provided they have proof of vaccination and a negative viral test. Families and friends separated since the start of pandemic streamed into airports across major European cities on Monday morning, excited to see loved ones for the first time since former President Donald Trump imposed tough travel restrictions at the outset of the pandemic in an effort to control the virus. But beyond this happy scene is a darker backdrop. Europe is in the grip of a fresh wave of COVID-19 cases, with the World Health Organization last week warning that the region is once again at the epicenter of the pandemic. Large swaths of Europe are battling to beat back surges of the Delta variant amid the relaxation of restrictions and staggering vaccine rollout in some countries, with the WHO warning that 500,000 Europeans could die with COVID-19 cases in a potentially devastating winter. Tunisian police have fired tear gas at protesters who refuse an authority's decision to reopen a controlled landfill in the southern town of Aghareb. In a report statement, some witnesses said that a young protester was killed by police tear gas in the southern town of Aghareb, but the interior minister said the person had nothing to do with the protest and died at his home 6 kilometers away from the protest because of an emergency health condition. The closing of a controlled landfill this year in Aghareb caused thousands of tons of household waste accumulate for about a month in the street markets and even hospitals. The accumulation of waste sparked widespread anger in Sfax, where the thousands protested last week, say the authorities were deliberately killing them and violating their rights. The Aghareb landfill, 20 kilometers from Sfax, was closed this year after residents complained, saying that diseases have spread and they are suffering from an environmental disaster. President Said called on the Minister of the Interior and the Prime Minister to find an immediate solution. Late on Monday, the Ministry of Environment reopened the closed landfill despite a judicial decision prohibiting that. Witnesses said when workers began collecting waste and transporting it to Aghareb, hundreds of young people were gathered rejecting the decision, which prompted police to fire tear gas to disperse them. About 26 school children have been killed when their classroom made out of straw and wood were engulfed in a blaze in southern Niger, a local governor said in a report statement. Niger, one of the poorest countries in the world, has tried to fix shortages of school building by constructing thousands of straw and wood sheds to serve as classrooms, with children sometimes sitting on the ground. Fires in the highly flammable classrooms are common but rarely result in casualties. Issoufou Azika, the Secretary General of the Niger Teachers Union, said in a report that Monday's fire had disseminated the school in Maradi. Azika said his union had alerted officials to the danger of the straw and wood classrooms after the Niamey fire in April. And President Mohamed Bazoum recently promised to replace the wooden structures. 4 astronauts trapped inside a SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule dived down safely in the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Florida after a 6-month scientific mission on the International Space Station ISS. The Dragon vehicle parachuted into the sea as planned just after 10:30 p.m. local time on Monday. Live terminal video imaging captured a glimpse of the capsule streaking like a meteor through the night sky over the Gulf minutes before splashdown. There was uploads from the flight control center as 4 main parachutes inflated above the capsule, slowing its speed to about 24 kilometers per hour before dropping gently into the calm sea. Since arriving at the International Space Station ISS on April 24, the crew of 2 Americans, a freshman and 1 Japanese astronaut, conducted hundreds of experiments and helped upgrade the station's solar panels. Their activities have included documenting the planet's surface to record human-caused changes and natural events, growing harsh chili peppers, and studying worms to better understand human health changes in space. The crew began their 8-hour return voyage to Earth in the Endeavour with a 90-minute loop around the ISS to take photographs, the first such mission since a Russian Soyuz spaceship performed a similar maneuver in 2018. New Zealand reinforced security measures at its parliament as thousands of people gathered to protest against compulsory COVID-19 vaccination and government lockdowns. All but 2 entrances to the parliament building known as the Beehive were closed on Tuesday, and unprecedented levels of police and security personnel deployed as mostly unmasked protesters marched peacefully through central Wellington and congregated outside Parliament. Many people were seen holding signs and placards with messages like "Freedom" and "Kiwis are not lab rats," and shouting slogans that they demanded the government roll back compulsory vaccination and lift restrictions. New Zealand has struggled to fight off a highly infectious outbreak of the Delta variant this year, forcing Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern to move from a strategy of elimination through lockdowns to living with the virus with higher vaccinations. Ardern last month announced that teachers and workers in the health and disability sectors will need to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19. She has promised to end health-related restrictions after 90% of the eligible population is vaccinated. That threshold is higher than many countries and has invited criticism from people calling for more freedom. New Zealand has among the lowest COVID-19 cases in the world, with less than 8,000 cases reported so far and 32 deaths. It reported 125 new cases on Tuesday, while nearly 80% of the eligible population were fully vaccinated. In the villages that once bore the pains of Afghanistan frontline fighting, the Taliban victory has broken a cycle of air attacks, gun battles, and funerals. The group's takeover of Kabul and the sudden collapse in August of the United States-backed government shocked the world and upended the freedoms of Afghans, which were particularly enjoyed by the urban middle class. But away from main cities, there were little of the international aid worth billions of dollars ever reached. Many believe the Taliban's rule could bring a stop to the fighting, and they hope for an end to corruption. A US-led invasion removed the Taliban in 2001, which led to 20 years of military occupation by NATO forces. A democratic government was restored, women were once again allowed to work and study, and a vocal civil society was rebuilt. But corruption and vote-rigging allegations plagued government institutions. Justice was slow and ineffective, and foreign troops were tainted by accusation of colliding with warlords, abusing Afghans, and disrespecting local customs. Congo's military says that members of the March 23 movement M23 rebellion group have attacked a base in eastern Congo's Rutshuru area. Fighting is ongoing. The M23 insurrection movement attacked a Congolese military FARDC positions in Rutshuru with the intention of destabilizing the province. General Sylvain Ekenge, deputy spokesman for the Congolese military, said that at present the fighting is ongoing and the loyalist forces are determined to put an end to this armed group once and for all. The rebels attacked in remote villages of Rurunye and Chanzu on the strategic hills between Rwanda and Uganda in the North Kivu province, General Sylvain added. The M23 group, however, denied that they are behind attacks or fighting with the military or government in a report statement on Monday. The fighting has forced a heavy influx of people fleeing to Uganda, according to the Ugandan Red Cross. Today, the 9th of October, far back in 1960 in the United States of America, Senator John F. Kennedy wins the election for the President of the United States. And that is some facts on today in history. My name is Joyce Iyakwari. Thank you for watching. Join Sambo and I on the Midday Show coming right after this. Stay tuned.